and Robert,
That's me.
or Robert and Luis.
Well, we can fight about that later.
I don't know.
Anyway, I think before we start playing games and stuff, we're gonna just take a look at this
I was
interesting
thinking,
game.
I was thinking that maybe we should get some people in the chat first.
It's okay. I mean, we don't have to wait for them because it's the opening stuff first. They can always go back and see. We'll just go a
Okay.
little bit slow.
Yep.
Anyway, so this is our start position as usual.
So the way I ran into this game, I was surfing through the new YouTube feed, right? And when I started looking through this game, I thought of my friend Robert
That's me again.
because he plays all these bulk wild games that I never understand.
Buckwild is in fact the word for it.
And
I'm
from
trying not to, but somehow it just always happens.
yeah,
We're,
so
we're like, oh, let's play a calm game, just a casual game before class, and then we play like a poison pawn variation, and pieces are flying off the board and onto the board and all that.
from the experience I had from this game, I was like, you know what? I'll show it as a training exercise to my friend Robert. And Robert was like, let's do it a video.
I like the game, and I was out of a service area over the weekend, and so I was completely out of touch with chess, and it's good to come back and see a top game. And Muzychuk is always playing well. If I'm butchering her name, sue me. But I like this aggressive chess that you always see from people, especially among the women's champions.
Yeah, women are
They know where it's at
are super wild. Yeah,
in chess. So anyway, so here we go. We've got something that's shaping up to look like a Paulson or a
time enough or
Taimanov
something.
or something like that. Um, I actually kind of like this move order thing where you play knight c3 first, and you're kind of like, ooh, what's the ceiling am I gonna play?
Yeah.
And then people sometimes they just like their brain blows up from knight c3, like, no, you're supposed to play d4 in this position. And then they do something crazy and they get transpositioned out of it. Of course, that never happens at this level, but like lower players, maybe in this position they always want to play dragon and they play e6 because
Yeah.
they think you're gonna play a close Sicilian or something, and then you juke it up with d4. And then they're like, darn, can't
Mm,
play my dragon anymore.
right back at it,
Well,
right?
yeah, back at it again. So, okay, this is normal stuff. Now we're in a real Paulson. Um,
So here, if you want to transpose back into a timeout, I believe you could play the move
knight f6.
knight f6, but you're down a tempo because now knight b5 might be something, but then you could get d5 in time.
It's very complicated. I think I've played this position before. You're talking about like this, right?
Yeah,
With the idea to fly in on d6.
yeah, but
Yeah, I think usually the way that this goes is you'll do something like
d5
d6
or
right away.
d6.
Can you play d5 immediately? I think usually people play d6 here.
I mean, d5 will leave you with an isolated pawn, so it's probably not a good
Hold
thing.
on, let me just stare at it for a second. D5 takes, knight takes. Isn't there a tactic here? Like d5 pawn takes.
Oh, you could take the pawn on d5 because knight c7 check.
Yeah. There's also just the fact that c7 and d6 are not well guarded. So like, let's say you take with the bishop,
You could take with the
maybe
knight.
bishop f4, just like fly in there.
You can also take with a knight.
You can do that too.
And this is a very cool use
Yeah,
when
I've
state
done this
pawn.
in several games. There's a nice Portish game from back in the day where he's playing the black side of a position like this, and they take the pawn, and he just like lets it go. It was a really nice game. I wish I could remember who he was playing. Anyway, maybe I'll make a video about it sometime if I run across it. But yeah, I think knight f6 is not perfect like that. I think usually people play like d6 and then they'll put their bishop on one of these squares to try to stimulate some discussion of your dark square, light square issues. So that's totally a thing.
Yeah,
But in this game, they chose the Bastrikov variation, um, and this is perfectly good. So no reason to be concerned.
yeah,
Some people like to play knight b5 here, but this is just not called for. I
yeah.
believe the
This
best
is
move is queen b8.
yeah, queen b8, a6, put the
Yeah.
bishop on d6.
Let's say you play like what bishop e3. This is a
Yeah,
bad line, but I'm trying to guess like what people do. Bishop e3, probably they'll pick it immediately. If you go back to d4 is oh no here isn't there some line where they play like a queen trap? I seem to
no.
remember some kind of queen trap, like bishop b6 and then bishop c7 or something like that. I remember there's a line here where you go up the queen for three pieces, and it turns out that engines might not necessarily understand it, but in practice, black is just happier with multiple pieces for the queen.
I
Looking at it, I don't remember how you get there because I
I
don't play
think
like that.
I think it might be something like bishop b6, pawn takes,
Knight takes,
knight takes, and then you're threatening bishop c7, and the queen
and they
can't get
ignore
out.
it like this.
Yeah,
Like they like force it somehow.
and I mean here you can play rook a6, and
There's also queen e5 and queen f4. I feel like you don't even get your queen trapped. I guess the issue might be knight c7
yeah,
with some cool moves. But anyway, that's just an aside. I just know there is a line like that, and it happens when you play knight b5, and it's not really a good move here. It's just encouraging black to develop their pieces.
right.
It looks weird because the queen goes to b8, but sometimes the queen's good on b8.
Yeah,
So f4. This is the main move here, I guess, right now. Although just this year alone, and it's February, people have tried bishop e3, bishop e2, g3. All of these have been played this year at the top level. So that's an indicator that this is a very topical variation. And it kind of has been for some time, I think, because I think a lot of strong players choose this Paulson stuff against uh, players who appear weaker because of their rating or lack of experience or something, because it's very nuanced and you have to develop your pieces in a very non-stereotyped way to have any hope of an edge as white.
right.
So, but of course, we're not talking about that kind of disparity here. Muzychuk and Kobo, they're both strong players. So a6 came up, and as it's wont to do,
Knight takes
and knight
c6.
c6 is common. Usually, when black is fully committed all these pawn moves, or whenever they disturb your knight, you tend to just take this right away before they get a chance to protect it with a minor piece and replace it with, say, a bishop or something. So here, people have played d takes, which has lost almost every single time.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think it's funny too. It's always interesting to see a move that loses practically every single time, and then you just check it out, and you can really learn something from these bad lines. Um, B takes is more topical, and I think the idea is frequently to follow up with E5, but white gets a lot of space, and your
Probably
bishop's not so awesome.
e5 d6, right?
Yeah, so Queen C6 has been tried this year, top move this year. Um, Now Bishop
Bishop
D3.
d3.
This is a common placement for the bishop too.
Yeah, and these time on the Khan Sicilian Paulsons that just play the bishop on d3 and protect d4. So this little pin doesn't bother people like the bishop b4 pin.
Yeah,
It has tripped a lot of people. Now with the bishop on d3, you can't really get at the fact that the knight is pinned.
I think here the normal move would be like Bishop D2.
Yeah, bishop d2 and queen e2. Like knight f6 and queen e2.
There's no reason to give anything,
Yeah, this is just
and they can't even break with D5 because of this
yeah.
little tension.
And she kind of play a similar setup no matter what the move was.
Yeah, it's very common to play all of these
Yeah,
moves.
this setup. Yeah,
The bishop on d2 usually overprotects c3, which turns out to be quite useful.
right.
Um, since black is usually going to try to place the minor pieces actively, for example, they might maneuver this knight one day to c5 or something.
Mm.
But in this particular variation, the knight that usually ends up doing that has already been traded. It was here, and
Yeah,
now it's gone. So I guess it's not a major concern. But also, why should you play bishop e3, blocking your queen and potentially blocking your knight from pirouetting around the board through the e3 square? So bishop d2, just normal stuff. Bishop c5 is active, so nothing wrong with that.
can we say stopping castling?
Stopping castling, can we say that? Yeah.
Not really. I mean, why he's been intending to castle long for since move one, so it's
Sometimes they do castle short, but I mean, we got these guns, right? It's probably a bad idea to castle like that, but not always. I've seen some games where the queen is still on c7 and they post up a knight on d4 and just hug that center square and they'll castle and they never get queen c6.
mm,
But I guess since here they've already made this exchange where they're pretty much more prepared than normal for a kingside attack, it doesn't make sense to castle this way anymore. So a3. We were actually talking before. We looked at the game just a short while ago, like we said, and we were talking about how here you could castle, and it looks like it's pretty much the same.
it's probably the same.
The idea mainly is that if black plays a move like b4, which is tempting for the beginner players because the knight has very few squares. You don't want to go on b8. It's bad. You don't want to go on a4. It'll get taken. You don't want to go on b5. It'll get taken. And e2 is unavailable. It looks like they have to make an uncomfortable move, but there's this finesse knight d5. And if you take the knight, well, you're going to lose a lot more than that because the pawn's also controlling a place where you can block with a queen. So too bad, so sad. Um, so the knight usually has this kind of resource, not just in this variation, but pretty much all Sicilians in which black is rapidly expanding on a wing, and there's this open line to the king. So this happens quite frequently. And people might be wondering, well, what happens if you allow knight d5 and then you just do something like castle?
97.
97. Oh, you mean black 97?
Yeah.
Yeah, black 97 makes a lot of sense. But I think here my choice would likely be something like 90,
You could take the knight on e7, play queen g4, and you already are leaving. You're far ahead on the attack there too.
like this.
Yeah, play queen g4.
But what if they just go ahead? All right,
e5.
then there's
Where's the
e5.
pawn?
Okay, that's true. And if they castle,
Then h4, h5, h6.
it's a little slow. So
Or maybe you can immediately play f5 here.
at any rate, it's still a game, but you're alleviating some of Black's practical problems by trading pieces. I think probably it's better to avoid. But there's a good point for either one. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone will be uncomfortable playing this position for White.
Yeah, I feel like this is.
Hence the reason no one has ever played before. I think it's never been
Yeah,
played in
in
the
practice.
recorded history.
Yeah.
Maybe in some casual games or something, but not that I'm aware of from like Mega Database or Twic, which is a great website by the way for anyone who's looking to download some games on the cheap. Anyway,
So,
so A3 is there. And the reason that I think A3 instead of castling makes sense is it's pretty flexible. You could still maybe do something different if your opponent gets ambitious and tries a weird different line. And it's kind of like you have to play A3 anyway. For example, let's say you castled here, right?
they
And
play
then black plays 97. This prevents knight d5 because there's no pin. The knight is protecting the king. So now they're actually intending b4, and you'll have the similar practical problems like what we saw earlier. So a3 anyway has to
this
happen.
is the main reason is that if you play something else now, then b4 actually lose a piece. So
Yeah. I mean, depends on how bad the move that you chose was. You
yeah,
could play something different, the knight will run back, but then it's passive. Knight's a short range piece. You need to keep it close to some good squares, or it could fall behind when the initiative starts to
right.
matter.
So a3, hard to explain, but it's a useful move.
It prevents b4,
It
right?
prevents b4, yeah.
And you might even want to prepare b4 one day. So
All right. So
it's
97 anyway,
yeah, this stops knight d5.
then castles, right? So castles.
Now here actually we didn't talk about this earlier, but if they play b4 in this position, I think it's not such a big deal.
Mhm.
Let's just see exactly what should we do against b4.
All right. First question is, don't you take it?
I think you should just take it, right?
You should just take it.
And if they take back, then probably like knight a2 or just nothing at all.
Just
Just keep moving pieces.
probably just play another move like g4.
G4 looks pretty good. Maybe king b1, just a
King
prophylactic move.
b1, prophylactic move.
Yeah, we've got options here, but this is not really threatening.
Actually, I think that maybe the move king b1 would be the best test because if you manage to get the knight out without this should takes d2 without being a check, you have a lot of different options.
Yeah, that's true. This prepares a lot of tactical options because whenever there's a pin like this on a relative pin, then the minor piece or whatever other piece, the long range piece that's on the other side, you can do discover attacks.
So for example,
These all become
here
targets.
let's say the black castles, right?
Okay,
I
which
had
way?
a short, I had a very quick idea. You can play 95.
If you take a lot of stuff. Watch them cry.
So
That's the nice part.
yeah,
That's my favorite part
watching
when they
people
cry.
cry.
Yeah, that's why I play chess.
Dude,
I'm not playing pinochle here, right? I want to see some crying.
I've seen people cry in tournaments.
Have you seen people cry in pinochle?
No.
See, this is why we play chess. It's better this way. There's more crying.
All right, so so a3 castles.
Yeah, castle, castle.
Good.
It's always good to copy your opponent when they play a good move. So castle.
Castle, yeah, right.
Yeah, and remember to castle. There are a lot of people that we know
So
who don't do that, and it's
right.
annoying.
Shout outs
But
to our students.
some people will be like, well, look at that game where Kobo lost to Muzychuk and she castled. So, or well, they castled. I don't remember. But you'll say like, oh, they castled and they got checkmated. That means you shouldn't castle. But then it's like, okay, well, Muzychuk castled.
No, but the game wasn't that cut and clear, right? It was White was winning, but they had to be super precise every single time.
If the
It
king
was
was in the center, they just fly in with knight d5 or something,
yeah,
or f5 or
and
any kind of break.
there's actually no second best moves after the move h5. Every move is a one.
Yeah, so let's skirt ahead to that part. So
So
h4, this move is, I'd say this is the cutting edge right
mhm.
now.
It's the
Um,
main try this year at least.
I didn't look that hard at this position though because we decided to do this on the fly. But in recent time, like in the last 3 years, people have tried Queen H5, Rook HF1, Rook, I guess Rook DE1,
And pawn
and
h5.
Pawn G4. They've
Yeah,
tried
pawn
all of these,
h5.
right? So they've tried all these things, and they've all been pretty successful for White. So Black is still kind of under fire in this opening. But H4, after this game, it has a 90% score from what I could find
Yeah. Yeah.
right before we made this video. And so after H4, right, they're following the footsteps of one game Vavulan versus Portela Pelotero. And in that game, they played F5. And here Muzychuk chose G4, which is probably some home cooking because the game that had been played in 2016 continued with H5. And things kind of dried up a little bit after this thematic central break. It's generally good to play D5. And even though they got the pawn all the way to H6, it was still they made one mate threat and then one defense, and things kind of, I'd say it's equal.
Yeah, it got super equal here.
Without the queens, it's hard to take advantage of all this extra space and stuff. So, the more trades that happen, the less the space matters, and the bishops kind of got blocked up. So it became less of an attacking game. Probably Vavulan was hoping for more, and Mr. found a way to get more with G4. This retains a lot of the dynamic possibilities of the other game, but with some additions like G takes F5.
Right? And then like if you want to open the G file with f takes G4,
Mm-hmm. Like
then
this.
Queen G4 already looks like White's there.
Yeah, this looks reasonable
Knocking
to
on
me.
the door, yeah. It's already
Yeah,
knocking on
knock
the door.
knock. Who's there? It's the queen and some heavy pieces
Then,
maybe.
then the next deal will be to play H5, H6, make him push another pawn, and then F5. It's gonna be a wrap.
And since this bishop is so important, I think if black weakens the king side enough, they're willing to play rook g1 and just give one exchange to start
Yeah,
pushing.
this is gonna be bad eventually. So you can't take on G4.
I mean, of course, whenever you play like f5 early in the game, you get extra defending options too with like rook f7 and such. But your
Yeah,
king's also weaker like on this diagonal, and you have less support on g6. There are some issues.
yeah. You can never play D5 either because
Yeah, it gets too wide open. I mean, you can, but only with some tactical nonsense occurring.
yeah, it's gonna be
Anyway, so in the game they still played d5 without that because taking on g4 just doesn't make sense.
yeah.
Um,
Take would be a similar.
so wide open lines. There's nothing complicated about this.
Yeah,
E5 is kind of tempting, but it makes
but
this
you
bishop pretty bad. So where's the
and
attack?
and you don't want to close the position if you want to attack, right?
Yeah,
So
pawn takes d5. It opens up a lot of tactical possibilities. It's clearing the diagonal to attack the king maybe. Also, this exchange of knights, I think it's favorable for white because this knight on c3
yeah,
doesn't have a clear future in the attack.
it's there, but you don't really have a square to put it on, right?
Yeah, the only downside is that black's pieces are also getting somewhat active.
True.
Queen a2 is again on the menu, which can be a big source of counterplay.
Yeah, but I guess that when they were testing this position, you play rook e1. If queen a2, you play bishop c3. And the queen's kind of like, okay, it's there, but it's not really doing anything.
Yeah, it's easy to trap the queen like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, if you play queen e2, rook and b.
Are you talking about after rook he1?
Yeah, rook he1, queen a2, bishop c3.
Yeah. One critical thing is that if you play king b1 as a just in case kind of move, which many people do out of laziness, you're like, oh, just in case queen a2 is good, I'll stop it. This gives them time to do things like rook a e8, which is clearly an improvement in black's position, or
On
maybe even
even
this rook.
no, or even they could even take the rook on h1 and play this position.
That seems a little complicated with a weak king. I'm not sure about that.
Takes. Oh, I mean,
Queen e6.
Queen e6 is a move. I think you might lose
with
material
rook
there.
a8.
Yeah.
Well, there are two bishops hanging. I should be able to do something. You might be right, but it also seems just unnecessary. Why should we allow all this thing? Like, go ahead,
Okay.
come at me. I'll probably play queen h6 or something, or take on a6. I think that the pressure's coming on.
Yeah.
So probably queen takes h1 is a little dubious. Um, it's like not what the position calls for when your king's weak. I like this more. This is just a straight up improvement of the rook.
Right.
Looks good. The other rook might even be nice, but I feel that it doesn't make sense that we're gonna try this kind of thing.
The attacks on the king side.
Yeah, the Space
On the queen
Invaders
side.
plan doesn't work so well here because everything's well guarded.
The Space Invaders.
Yeah, where everyone just falls down, the pawn's like doop 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 doop, falling down like that. Yeah, Space Invaders. So King B1 is a little slow. That's why people are even looking at moves like Rook HE1 because it's directed against Rook E8.
Yeah, it stops. It kind of stops your main plan, right?
Yeah, but to play a move like this, you have to calculate Queen A2. And the spice is that after Queen A1, you just sashay away with King D2. This bishop's guarding B2, so no qualms, no issues.
The queen is kind
And
of.
the queen has to go back. And the king is totally snug as a bug in a rug, and all those other things that rhyme with rug, because
And probably you
the knight
have a
loses the
very
queen.
dynamic potential, right? Because you could play b3 and trying to trap the
B3
queen.
does trap the queen.
And like if queen takes a6, a3, my bad. No, just queen. Oh, that's a trap
It's a
queen.
trap, right? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I was just gonna play queen e6 and just go wild on the other side of the board,
Oh,
but
Wylan. Yeah, that might also work
because
because
you can play queen h6 right after, right?
there might be a mate. Hold on, like, well, rook f7 might be a thing. But then you take some pawns. I don't know. If they go here, I'm looking at something like this.
Yeah. There has to be a mate there. There has to be, yeah, because now the queen e5 is
And if you do anything else, it's illegal
illegal, yeah.
or bad. I mean, we could take the rook, but we already talked about how giving two rooks. We kind of foretold that this
Yeah,
would occur. If they
no.
do a weakening of their king, we will play rook g1 and sacrifice,
Yeah,
right? It's like
so
Nostradamus.
these are potential lies of that could happen if queen a2 is played.
Yeah, I mean, objectively, after this, if they don't play queen a1, the position's fine,
Yeah.
and maybe there are some sources of counterplay, counter awesomeness. Maybe they'll play. I don't know. It's hard to pick a move here for black, but they'll probably just come back to f7 or something like this. Yeah, yeah. Let's not bring it up though. Anyway, so queen f7 is what they did without inserting any queen a2 weirdness,
Right.
because that just helps white improve the position.
And they're also trying to play probably rook a8.
Or rook f, either one. I think it's all good.
Yeah, they're trying to play rook e8. So white played kind of a prophylactic move here.
Do you think trades will generally favor black in this position?
Yeah, a great deal.
Why do you think so?
Because their king is already open.
Yeah, so it reduces white's attacking potential.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will lead to a winning position for black. There's some
Mm,
interest though, because these pawns are weak, so more trades might make this bishop very beefy
yeah, but this is a typical position that you can play for two results. I don't
as
think that.
white. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
I don't think that white has very big risk here. He has some weak pawns, like the h pawn is kind of weak, but you can always push it down the board with the right deal.
Black
So
carries all the risk, but in this game we saw some extremely sharp play, which makes me feel that white has to play sharply, meaning that black does have some resources in
I mean,
the
it's an
engine.
open Sicilian. It has to happen, right? Bishop
No, not
c3.
necessarily. You can play it like Karpov. It's fine.
Yeah, bishop c3 is a prophylactic move against rook e8. So you can play bishop
Which is also just good. It blocks all the stuff.
e5. Yeah, now this bishop is going to be annoying.
I checked the engine evaluation of this position prior to us going live, and the engine's all over the place about this one. But if you just look at it as a person, just looking at the position and using your reasoning, the material balance is equal, but white has a couple of trumps. They have more space, they have a safer king, and they have this beefy bishop on e5. I think that for black to hold this position, they'll have to do some cool stuff.
Yeah, they'll have to play very precise.
Yeah, and precise moves did not happen. Rook e6 is probably good. Why not?
Right.
Rook a d8 also makes some sense. It's just
But I
improving
think
the rook.
I think the same plan
Simple.
would have sufficed here. The one that happened in the game and
You
what
mean for
would have
black?
yeah.
Yeah, rook e6 is also quite reasonable. Now, white played queen f1, which is pretty cool. Basically, if you're just a novice player looking at this position, you want to play like bishop c4, and you want to attack these guys.
Yeah, but with the rook,
but it doesn't make sense.
yeah, with the rook on the A8, if you play A4, they just kind of ignore you, right?
Yeah, because there's going to come a day when the rook lands on a1 and it's bad for you.
So I'll play something like King H8 to start moving stuff out of the pin,
Okay.
right?
And then
And
let's
then
say
if
they
you
take,
take the
right?
pawn, I'll take. If you take again, then Rook A1, and I'm just coming for
Checkmating,
you.
right?
Yeah.
Probably. What do you
No,
think is
just
going to
bishop
happen?
bishop B4 check, and if C3, your king is even more open. Then
There has to be some way to finish this, though. We're not obligated to finish either because trading more pieces is also good, and the king's looking weird. Um, so I don't think we need to look so hard at this position. It's just obvious that we shouldn't let it happen.
yeah,
And it's worth mentioning that if white tries to get the best of both worlds and play a move like b3, this is also very weakening. It stops rook a1. Well, it doesn't actually. The queen's hanging. Well,
yeah,
actually,
but
maybe it's worth it because you get two rooks. No, bishop f3 at the end. It's something like this. I guess you could take with this bishop. I was thinking rook takes, bishop f3. Doesn't look terrible.
yeah,
Just a quick glance, though. There might be some real tactical stuff here. But b3 is very weakening, so there's no reason to play like this. It's just uncalled for. However, it's an idea. We might want to do something like this. But if you're looking for other active prospects, um, it makes some sense to consider queen moves because this is a pin.
yeah.
Maybe
So
I'll make an arrow. Yeah, there we go. I knew it would work. So yeah, it's a pin. And so getting out of the pin, but what's the most active way? We have so many queen moves to play. I mean, clearly not queen g2, bishop takes g2, or queen f2, bishop takes, I'm sorry, queen f2, bishop takes f2. Not good, right? So queen f1 is logical, but it's also like it's just good for many reasons. Even if you couldn't play, I mean, even if you could play like queen g2 or something, you might not want to necessarily. It's just as good. Our destination in just two moves, making this a legitimate maneuver, is h3.
yeah, so there's something that would happen. This pretty cool thing is that now that the rook is on F8, in the previous move with the queen F1 here,
We could play a4, right?
yeah, the computer says you could play A4 and play that position just because the rook is no longer A8. There's not that extra rook A1 check.
Yes, this is the realization of the tactical idea, but it also seems like it might be difficult to play in practice.
Yeah, so for humans, this is not a good deal. Hey, I'm pretty sure that when Anna prepared this position, they already had the queen F1, queen H3 plan in check.
Why do you think that? Because she played this position very quickly?
Yeah, she played this position and she still had like an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was a
So
good indicator of her preparation.
so after she played queen H3, she started thinking.
By the way, do you know
And
do you know who this Kobo person is
no,
or where they're
actually,
from?
never heard about it.
I'm,
But he's playing very well though.
I'm gonna look him up real quick. Well, do you want to take the mouse and make some
Yeah,
moves? I just
yeah.
want to get an idea of who this person is because we're talking about them and we're talking a lot about Muzychuk. It'd be good to give some credit to her opponent.
So this would be a position that could be played maybe. Also,
From
hmm,
Israel
this is just
and a
winning
young
a queen.
player also,
Yeah, this is just winning a queen.
22.
What if not A3? What if we just ignore the pawn? What if we play a move like
Well, it loses a pawn, right? Just
yeah, it
take
loses a
twice.
pawn, but I don't think it's idea
Well,
for
now
a
we're
serious
threatening bishop
game.
c4, right?
Yeah, but in a serious game, this would be a very big issue to play around because we don't want to play in an open field like this. It's it's super hard to defend these positions.
I feel happy in this position, but I play like that. So,
Yeah,
but for most people, I think they don't want something that's double-edged, especially if they have like a chance to get a clear winning position.
yeah. So here,
Future Master said, "What is with the pieces?" Um,
they're new.
yeah, there's just some new pieces. I don't know. I just changed them randomly. You want me to change the board too?
I feel like the board art.
All right, boom. How you like that?
I
What's with
that
the
hurts
pieces?
that
All right,
hurts my eyes. I
all
don't
right,
know.
fine. I
Let's
mean,
do like what
we got people asking what's up with the pieces. Well, what's up with the board, huh? All right, let's go. Anyway, so rook f8, queen h3. Why are you looking so hard at my phone?
oh because I was
We got a position here.
all right good. So in this position, the question is, well, if anybody is watching this for training purposes, This would be a good position to calculate what happens if you take the pawn on f5. And don't look at the notation.
They can't see it.
Oh, they can't.
Nope.
Oh, very good.
Haha.
All right. Hey. So what
It's almost like
happens?
I planned it.
Hey. So what happens if you take on f5 with the bishop?
Yeah, good
Calculate
question.
that for like about a good 5 to 10 minutes, and then
Bishop f5 is a little bit of a giveaway about the nature of the position. I guess I'd probably ask people to also just consider like what's the most logical thing to see if they can figure out that you have to play bishop f5 in the first place. But
yeah,
we can talk about that while they're calculating bishop f5.
yeah,
Like positions equal in many ways. If you play a little dry, they could dry it up if they want to. If you play slow, they could build pressure against h4. We even gave an idea like if you play king b1, they play bishop f2.
right, right. So
So there's a little bit of an impetus to find this sharp play. So
right,
so the next thing is to see just does bishop takes f5 work out? There are no other really sharp moves on the board. Queen f5 makes no sense. Bishop
yeah.
b5 suicidal. b4 makes your king very drafty. So we only really can consider bishop takes f5, and if it doesn't work, then we'll play something like I don't know, rook e2.
Yeah, some rook move.
Rook e2 looks spicy,
Yeah,
actually.
you can double in the e file maybe.
It's very I don't know, it's very tricky after bishop e7. But hey,
Right.
it's a position,
It's a
So
position.
it's a spicy position. So if anyone who's watching has some ideas about what happens after bishop takes f5, feel free to drop it in the chat, and we'll talk to you about what you think before we go forward. If you've already seen the game, give it a shot anyway. Just pretend you didn't see the game. I do that all the time. Where I look at something like, okay, I know what the move is, but let me calculate some stuff. Play devil's advocate. Make sure you really deeply understand
This
the
change
whole
of the
deal.
board right in the middle of the class.
What's the matter? You don't like that? I'll do it 5 more times if you guys complain anymore.
Right.
We'll get a strobe.
I thought the pieces were fine though.
They are fine.
I think the bishops look very bishopy. The queen looks like a real queen.
All right, let me blind some more people. Which one should we use? Blue?
No, I
Blue
like
three?
I like
Scratchy
this
wood
one.
3?
This wood
Maple?
maple. Yeah,
Maple's so like normal.
brown is normal.
Brown's the normalist. That's why it's called brown.
We can use the green one.
Metal? Yeah. Metal theme. Green? This one?
No,
Green plastic?
yeah,
Marble? Green.
that was the one that was on. Marble was on.
Uh, looks like a holiday.
Yeah, it looks like
Too yellow.
straight Christmas.
Like a
Can we do the one on top?
jaundice.
Can we do the one on top? Oh, this green.
Oh, I didn't even realize. This one also looks a little bit jaundiced.
We're so bright,
So vivid.
right? Can't see. All right.
I'm gonna just keep changing it until everyone gets blind.
That,
All right, this
that
one
was
works.
better.
All right, there we go.
That's so.
No more.
Better.
Cool. So that's enough nonsense. After rook h6, bishop takes f5, right? Obviously they're gonna think about taking it, but you should consider other moves. Um, they could do some desperado counter type stuff, but they took it.
Yeah. Very good moment to find a good move here.
So if first off, if you trade queens, it doesn't make any sense. You sacrifice the piece, right? We got to go for something a little more macho if we're gonna be sacrificing stuff. So
By the
if
way, before you took here, you should have seen the next move.
yeah, of course, you can't just
But
take and then start
but
crushing your face like
but
this.
if you haven't, of course, pause the video
Yeah,
and then
pause our live video.
and then move on. No, I mean right now
Yeah,
you
we're
can.
eventually gonna post a recording, so it makes
Yeah.
sense. I just wanted an excuse to make fun of you, you know?
Yeah. Pause the live video.
Yeah.
All right.
And if you need a big hint because you don't play chess like that, there's this thing called a windmill tactic, which is kind of important and relevant. Um, and it's kind of obvious once you've seen it because people just love this thing and they never forget it once they've seen. Um, so you might want to see how to set that up. Since Black's king doesn't have many squares, it'd be nice if you could somehow invade, get more pieces in the attack, make a lot of forcing moves where you stick them like this, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like if you're gonna play a move like Rook D7, you kind of like get all glamorous and stuff, and grab the rook and like put it as high as possible.
So they go like this.
They go like, oh, what is gonna drop the rook? And they're like, you put it down.
You have a rook in your hand, like, ooh, they dropped a queen. And then you put the rook on d7, and they're like, no, it's checkmate. Anyway, so
It's
That's
like
how it goes.
you grab the rook and your opponent goes like, "Oh, the queen's hanging."
Over the weekend I made ribs, and you know how when you make ribs you have to cut off the
Yeah,
outside to make it
yeah.
nice and tender. When I was cutting it off so viciously, I felt like it was one of those games where I play Rook F6 and they can't take it. It's like Rook F6, Rook F6. How do you like that?
How do you
Putting
like
the rook
that?
on the good square. All right, so that's enough nonsense again. So Rook D7, another outstanding move. Outstanding move.
Yeah.
This is what the meme was all about. Now, the critical line, I guess, that you should calculate first, what happens when that queen says bye-bye? No one's attacking this bishop. That's important. Oh, Yifu's future master gave a line, so let's actually talk about it real quick. So they gave queen b3 check. Let's talk about it. Um, king
King
h8.
G1.
Yeah, rook o g1o, bishop g1, and then it says rook h g1 question mark. The question mark is definitely there.
Yeah, because
You stopped your variation too soon.
Rook G6 right now it's just right
I
on your
think rook
face.
g6 is the best move.
It's just right in your face.
Yeah. So you can't stop your calculation in the middle when there's still forcing moves to play. Basically, what you've done is you've made a couple checks and you ignored the fact that they have like three interesting legal moves here.
Yeah.
They could play queen e6, they could play rook f7, which is bad. They could play rook e6, and then there's king h8, right? And you assume they'll play this one, and then you made a threat, and you ended your variation with the threat. But if you don't know how to resolve the threat, it's basically just a dead end.
Yeah.
Like after rook g6,
Everything is on
there's
the
not much
defense.
going on here. Besides, you're also moving your rook from a good position to a worse position, so it's kind of unnecessary. It defies a lot of the tenets of good calculation, but that's okay. It's a learning experience. Um, you can't end up just with the threat. You have to also try to resolve the threat. So rook d7 creates a major threat, and the resolution involves looking at several moves. Queen h3 is one of them. We already talked about how queen h3. Um,
I don't think it's finished.
yeah, we started talking about
Check.
it. It leads to a windmill, which
Actually,
everybody's heard about.
is mate right now.
There will be a mate in two, I guess, but it's a windmill-y kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you see this configuration of pieces where they're stuck on just a couple squares and your rook can do that all day,
You know what I
that's a
call
great
this?
sign. What?
The eye of the dragon.
That's right, the eye of the dragon. We always talk about this. So if you want to be a jerk, you can just check.
No, they can play Rook F6
Oh yeah, you're right. You're
and
right.
break your
In this
dreams.
example, they could do it. So
Break your dreams. The other Rook to F6.
that's true. My bad. All right. So I guess it's not as windmilling as you think, but that's the idea. But you can also go this way. So if you want to be annoying with material, you could do this. But this is of course not the best move. The best move is to check your opponent. So rook g6.
Rook G6.
Do this and then mate. I believe this is a variant on something called Anderson's mate. Do you know if that's true? Or is it
Yeah.
Morphy's mate? It's called like Morphy's concealed mate or something like that. Anyway, it's got a name. It's irrelevant. Just remember this pattern. It's nice. Boom,
Yes.
boom, boom.
It's very beautiful.
Yeah, the king's blushing because he's in checkmate. So, so that happened. Now, rook g6 is pretty much necessary. Obviously, if your queen takes, there's this X-ray Eye of the Dragon type thing, where we just take your queen, and there's no back rank
And
tings,
you're
nothing like that.
checkmating and attacking the bishop on B7.
Yeah, lots of checkmate. So after rook g6,
You're still forcing white to play precise, which is the crazy thing. Because a lot of people play like queen takes f5, rook takes f5, rook takes b7, move a pawn. No, but like
it's not
if
big enough.
yeah, if we're already attacking and everything, why not go all out?
When your position's majestic, you shouldn't let it go just for a pittance.
Right.
It's like if you have $1 million and you're walking down the street and some guy's like, "Hey, you have $1 million," and you're like, "Yes, sirree, I sure do." And he says, "Give me $100,000," and you're like, "Why?" And you say, "Well, you'll have 900,000 left." And you're like, "You know what? That's a good point." You just like slap the money in
So
his hand.
what White did here was like, okay, I can either trade queens and play a position of a pawn, or I can still have my queens on and keep attacking throughout the full game with this queen b3 move check.
This requires very little calculation. It's just
Yeah,
pragmatic. Do I want to trade queens? No. Can I play queen b3 without blundering? Yes, I play it.
yeah. And then I mean, you of course have to calculate something like rook e6, but that's not good.
Rook e6, you're just pinning yourself, right?
Yeah, you can play bishop takes g7,
If you play rook e6, I'll just play
rook
this.
takes g7
That should be
too. It.
winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah, because you can play queen takes. Yeah, that's
It's winning 10,000 days.
say
So
thousand base.
so they played king h8, and it's good they didn't play anything else.
Yeah, rook takes b7.
That's getting back your investment,
So
right?
so you got a pawn in this transaction, right?
Yeah, you got back what you invested. You're up a pawn, but let's say the pawn's irrelevant, all right? Maybe we're not going to even use this pawn. We maybe
And
rather not have
and
it.
she already like caught on to it. She played bishop f. The guy Kobo played bishop f2.
Let's just highlight for a second. This rook is really good,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah,
Even if you're down a pawn here, not
yeah,
just equal material, even if you're down a pawn, this rook is straight majestic. It's worth like
yeah.
7 points if you're a point counting kind of person.
Yeah, this rook is very good. So bishop f2, and here's another moment where you start going, okay, like I won a pawn, and my opponent just played this double attack. How do I resolve this issue? So the
Yeah.
first thing that you might be thinking about, okay, I could play rook d1, right?
Yeah, something like that. You're like, ooh, it's an open file. I don't lose a rook. I get back the pawn. It's equal material.
Yeah,
Tempting.
but I don't. I feel like you lose all the
You have
pressure
to play
there.
with fire, right? When your position is so good, you have to just give it to them.
Right. So rook
Heck's gonna give it to
d1
you.
gives the bishop back, the guy back, right? The pawn back.
Yeah, that guy.
Um, rook f1, rook f1 still gives the pawn back.
And the rook is passively placed.
Yeah, right. So and then if rook h1, rook h1, you can just
It's also passively placed.
yeah, you
It
can
doesn't
just
even
play.
matter. Even if they play rook h6 or whatever, I think rook h6 is a blunder. But like whatever they do,
Oh
this is just a
yeah.
passive place for a rook. So why should we do all that, right? Let's do something strong, some awesome move.
So instead of moving the rook away, what?
It's always a good
Why?
idea to look at the forcing moves.
Yeah, why start calculating? What if I don't defend the rook? What if I just keep going forwards, right? So
I think you can play this h5 just like as a matter of principle. I mean, you have to look a little bit to see if it's good to have a queen on h5, for instance,
yeah,
or good to move the rook.
and
But
then if queen takes h5, then it's another moment to start calculating. This is tactics galore, right?
Heat Future Master used the kill confirmed uh, emote that I made long ago. It's a little blurry. I'm gonna make a new one, a better one at some point. But it's a cat with a bird in its mouth. I love it. Anyway,
Kill confirmed.
always glad to see it. Kill confirmed. We're almost at that point. In fact, in this position, White plays a move that is exactly like that.
Yeah,
Kill
this is not
confirmed.
what happened in the game, but
Yeah,
you have to play h5, and you
and
have
know
to
what's
see,
up.
and you have to see what happens if they take.
Even if the move is not winning by force, it's nice to know, like, if it's a tricky move, you should see that it's tricky and be like, hey, maybe my opponent will make a mistake here in
Yeah,
time pressure. What Muzychuk was like up an hour at this point, right?
yeah, she had a long time to think.
So if the other person is starting to do this in their chair, they're feeling a little anxious and low blood sugar, they're probably gonna make some mistakes. So, um, the if anyone wants to give it a shot, we'll wait for like 45 seconds. It's a back rank mate motif.
Yeah,
There's some
yeah, we
some
already
checkmatey
got
takes.
got almost an hour in this thing.
Yeah, this game has a lot of
It's
what's the
very
word
good.
for it?
It's a very good game. It's
A lot
rich.
of mileage out of it.
It's a rich game.
Yeah, Kyuriko. It's just like that. Now we got all these tings hanging out here.
Yeah,
But there's also this rook, and
it's hanging
they've got
there.
lots of things that
Mm,
they can do, all kinds of cool things.
yeah.
And this queen's over here, and we're all staring at that guy, and he's sweating like he just ate a lot of meat. What are we gonna do? The answer,
Is
all right, maybe we'll wait like 5 seconds and see if anyone drops
five,
it.
four,
Yeah, like a
three,
shuttle launch.
two, one. Dun, dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun.
queen f7. So obviously, if they take it,
Just
we
play
play
rook
rook
b8,
e8. No, I'm just kidding.
rook b8. Easy.
Yeah, easy dubs. Thank you.
But what happens if rook g8? That's usually the most
Yeah, this
cool.
one I think I brought this up when you were showing it earlier.
Yeah.
Um, and this one it's interesting because there's no mate, so sometimes people get stuck on like one particular thing to do. I'm pretty sure there's no mate. I mean, I didn't check it with a fine tooth comb, also known as stockfish.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty confident
There's no mate,
that there's no mate. So you
but
need to be flexible, right? If you win a
yeah.
lot of material, that's cool too. Or if you keep the initiative, that's also cool. Um, pretty sure it's bishop g7.
Yeah, bishop g7.
And if they take this, we take the queen. And if they take with this rook, then we do the same deal. Sorry, sorry.
Yeah. That's the way.
All right, you said check check, and I was like, oh, did I miss a check?
And then
And then if we do this, then at the end we have this move.
don't
I
you
don't think we
know?
talked about this earlier, but it's there.
I
Um,
mean, it's just winning, right? After we only calculate until you take the queen. We didn't see it up to here.
hmm.
Yeah,
I don't think it matters if I check first. It's just let's take something.
doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the rook's better placed or worse placed. They're just losing. Anyway, um, with lots of pawns
And
on the
then
board, rook versus
if
queen
you
doesn't
take with
matter
the other rook, it might get interesting, right?
like this.
'Cause you can take an extra rook now, but
True. Oh, you mean
yeah, like
maybe this one?
but here is the same tactic, right? Rook takes g7. No. It's if you take the one only one, right? Take rook takes g7. It's the same tactic.
Yep.
And then if you take the other rook on b7,
Oh, sorry, I blanked.
I believe that here you can play rook
H1 or something.
rook h1 would be interesting, but I was thinking more like rook e8.
Rook e8 looks really good.
Yeah,
Sir queen
and
e5. Let us bring the rook back. I think it's just rook e8
rook e8.
because they can't play rook g1 now. That's pretty
And this is clear
spicy.
material up, and
Yeah, they might do something like this just to try to reconnect with their inner self.
yeah, but queen e5 seems
Looks pretty good.
already
I mean,
winning.
I'm confident with queen against rook and bishop when we also have a majority on the queen side. We'll
Yeah,
start throwing it down the board. Probably
this is
munch these pawns first.
this is trivial, at least under my eyes. I don't know. I feel like
It looks trivial because if they take this, there's mate,
you know,
and if they take this way, then we
queen.
have this, and they're struggling. Probably
Yeah,
I'll just play like king d2, something similar. Or
I'll-
actually, let's play this.
might-
This looks cool.
yeah.
Start
Oh, I
attacking.
actually played a game similar to
I
this
remember
one.
that game.
Yeah.
It was in what, Cherry Blossom?
No,
Or
actually, I
it
played
was
it.
Westfield.
It was a Westfield.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
I played a similar
Yeah, I recollect that game.
motive.
All right, so let me scroll back to the real game. So it was important to calculate queen h5, and you should, if you're good at calculation, you should be able to do that in a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Um,
So here
so
are
they played rook g3. Makes some sense.
forcing. Actually, after rook g3, there's only one good move. Is the one played in the game.
Yeah.
All the other moves lose.
And just for the record, if they leave this this file, then they're gonna get riggedy wrecked
Yeah.
by various moves.
Bishop takes g7 is enough, I think.
I think bishop g7 is good because it's
It's
mate.
mate. As we
Yeah.
good.
Right, so rook g3, not getting mated. That's a great option,
Rook
right?
g3 not getting mated.
I think rook g1 makes no sense, just for the record, because we're just liquidating needlessly, and this is a key defender, right? And they take back, we still get the jivey move.
Do we take with the
mate.
rook? Like if we take with the rook,
Take what with the rook? On g7?
on g7,
Well, who cares? This is mate, right?
we're winning.
Do they have a counterplay move here?
No.
Then this is mate in 2 then.
No, when they take on b1. So, this is mate. Okay.
Yeah.
So rook g3,
Hitting the queen.
defending
Important
everything.
detail. So how do we mitigate this scenario?
Well,
That's the
we
cool
kind of covered more or less what's the need of the position.
Yeah. They play queen d5.
Only move
bishop
actually.
g7 is not good. Because they'll just take with the rook.
They just come back with the rook. Yeah.
And we don't have any cool forcing moves anymore. And stuff's hanging. So queen d5 makes a lot of sense.
It's a very good centralizing move too, right?
And this almost carries a threat because we're eyeing the queen through the bishop.
I mean, you start asking yourself, well, what happens if bishop takes e1, right? But if
Yeah,
they
good
take
question.
the hanging rook. So you play queen d5 to hang a rook, and then you're like, okay, what happens? And this win right here is pretty cool. This is another moment to also.
Yeah, this is a good instructive moment to just chill out, see what's going on here.
Crazy
use your
how,
eyes.
It's crazy how this game has a tactic on a tactic on a tactic on a tactic.
A tactic palooza,
Because
as it were.
the good thing is that the black player is not playing bad, you know?
Yeah. That's
The
what
black
happens.
player-
You get good games when you both play interesting.
Yeah, the black player is playing very good moves and putting a question every single time.
I think sometimes people feel like good play means good result.
No.
So a decisive game is like someone played badly.
No.
It's not the same. Like sometimes people make a mistake. Like here, where was their mistake in this game so far?
Not yet.
It seems like there was a mistake in the opening, right?
Yeah. The actual mistake was rook a f8 in computer analysis, but
In computer land.
how can you tell a human that that's a mistake?
You also have to like identify what behavior did they do that was not rewarded, right? What have they done that was wrong? What did they do at home that was insufficient to get a good position and at least draw the game.
Right.
It doesn't make you a bad player if you didn't do your homework or if you got caught out of prep. It's just chess is really hard. So
Yeah.
still a good
So
game.
here, white to move and win. Whip it out.
Yeah, just whip it.
Just
What's the good
whip
move?
it.
Anyone?
Anyone? Anyone?
I'm gonna see if I can put some kill confirm.
All right. It's my favorite move to say, actually.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe people can guess it just based on that.
You think? I don't know. It's because my students always say in a very peculiar way.
Oh yeah, I know know exactly what you mean.
You have to play H6.
Hedge six.
H6.
Yeah. I like asking people who do this kind of thing to do like a spelling bee where where
H.
they spell the word hatch. It becomes very interesting very fast. Hatch. Hatch ATC hatch. Hatch. All right, so hatch six has been played. It's pressuring the pin. Logical move, right? They have to defend it.
Yeah.
And the reason is that if you play something more ambitious, like what's an ambitious move here? Like Rook G1, maybe?
Yeah.
Threatening mate,
But
then we take.
boom.
And
No.
if you take this, you lose your queen
No, you're
and
mate.
everything.
It's
Actually, it's
mate.
mate.
It's
Mate,
mate.
my bad.
Yeah. It's
But
just
yeah,
a
everything's
very
getting
cool mate
run
threat.
down. How can we like make this not mate? Like, what's the first move where it's not a
You
checkmate?
could try Rook G8.
Maybe Rook back to G6 or something. Oh yeah, Rook G8 now. That might make some sense.
But then bishop takes check. And then
Any check, right? And
yeah,
whatever they
pawn takes
take.
check. Yeah, then you
Mm,
would take with the rook. You take with the rook.
threatening mate, right?
Yeah, and then when you take it, the rook is pinned, and then issues. Mate.
Yep. Good old pins. I guess the
Yeah,
queen never gets captured, even though it's kind of a motif. I don't see any reasonable lines where you actually lose the queen and don't get mated. So I guess it's more of a mate threat. H6 is
it's
just threatening mate.
it's a mate threat. It's a very subtle move, though.
So Rook G8 has to happen.
So Queen D5 was a very good move.
Should we dwell
I mean,
more on this or
I mean, black
show? I
black
think
didn't. No, it's fine.
we kind
Black,
of know what'll happen here.
yeah, black.
All right, actually, this I guess it wins a queen, does it? Or is it still a mate threat?
No, it's just a checkmate. Well, that one's a queen, though.
Because we don't have discovered check or anything anymore. No pins.
I
So let's say they take like this, right?
I prefer check.
I guess we take, and the mate is like this.
Oh,
Okay,
there's
so it's
another.
still going to be mate.
It's still checkmate. Yeah.
Okay, so there's really no way that they lose a queen. This get mated in all the lines.
60,000.
All right, h6, mating kind of move. So they can't take the rook because they get mated by h6.
So they
How
played
funny.
H6
So they
themselves.
played h6 to prevent. It's the only way to prevent, right? Like if you play rook back to g6, it's like, what are you doing? It doesn't make sense.
But still, he's asking a lot of questions here when he plays H6. Like, how
Sad.
yeah, this is sad.
Lots of sadness. Wait, anyway, let's not dwell on this. There's 10,000 ways to die in the east.
Yeah,
King
H6. Yeah, East King.
Yeah. So here we are. Rook
Rookie 2.
e2 was played. I guess you could also play rook f1 maybe, but I think rook e2 is more active.
Rookie 2.
This prevents what happened in the game, but if this doesn't work, why not allow it? You know, the king's running a little bit, but the hammer never quite drops. They play bishop h4 with a threat, and again, white just creates a stronger threat. Responding to threat with stronger counter threat is frequently really good.
You have to be a very kind of player, or very superb kind of player, right? Because Queen D4 says, okay, you want to play Rook D8? You can
Well,
play Rook D8, but I stopped it. This is a very good prophylactical move.
I don't know if you need to be superb. You just have to be superb in this move.
And this move, yeah, so Rook D8 here doesn't work, which everybody will be like, I think the Queen.
Yeah, and they
But
celebrate early or something.
it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, this line you should be able to calculate this in a couple seconds too.
Yeah.
But it has at least two lines. You shouldn't just assume they'll play a particular response to bishop c7. Right, queen's hanging, so it's kind of obvious that you have to check their king.
Yeah.
King g8 is important. If you play rook takes g7, you have to also see a mate in 2. Or
Wait, Rookie
3. I guess it's mate in 3.
Yeah.
I can't count. All right,
Rookie 8 check.
give me some slack. Yeah, rook e8. The mate in 3.
Also, if King H7, no, King H7
When?
on this check,
Oh yeah, that's right.
you play Rook takes G7.
Also mate. So
It's pretty cool.
looking at top flight games is usually a good way of exercising your tactical ability. You don't have to just crack a tactics book. Sometimes you can just analyze a game. Lots of things happen.
Get good.
Yeah, get good.
since we just need to get good. All right. So here, Rook C8, very strong move because
You don't get checkmated.
one, you don't get checkmated, and two,
Hope of
it's a
survival.
counter attack. It's
Yeah,
a
you might
very
even win the game if white suddenly has an aneurysm or something. So after rook c8, it's tempting to play moves like c3, but even this is allowing counterplay.
no.
So it's better to play the way the game ended, pretty much.
Bishop takes
Same thing.
G7 anyway.
We've been seeing it coming, so we don't need to pretend anymore.
And now, very good finesse. Give you the Rook.
It's always great when you see this alignment where there's two of your own pieces in the way and the king's on the other side. He's
And
nervous.
honestly, the only way this works is because the bishop can always retreat with a counter check,
Yeah, that's really important.
right?
hmm It's you have to be very careful whenever you allow different pieces to arrive just next to your king.
Right. So if there's two moves, there's Queen Rook
There's
takes
only one
C2.
move here, right?
No, Rook takes C2 happened,
Oh, you mean
but
instead of queen?
there's Queen C2 also. Let's
The same
calculate that.
reply.
Yeah, Queen
This
E3,
is forced,
and then if you do any checks, I'll end up retrieving my bishop.
like this, for instance,
Yeah,
right?
check back
Check. Haha.
and mate you next move.
Yeah, whatever they do, we'll do some stuff back.
And you
Maybe
do
they
a-
could do like this.
Yeah, but then
What do you mean? Where
Rook,
to?
Rook C2.
Yeah, you're right. So we don't have to go. So probably bishop g5 is the way to stop mate, and other moves are.
Queen G8, G7, mate. G7.
All right, so um, rook c2 probably slightly more practical, even though it's not winning,
Yeah,
because it gives them the option of checkmating themselves, right?
yeah, this is always trick.
This will be mate,
It's always a good trick.
and then here you can pretend you're thinking for some time. Yeah. Anyway, so king e3. I like to pretend that I'm thinking. It makes me feel
So now you're
cultured.
forced. You're
No, I'm
forced to
just
play.
kidding.
Culture. You're supposed. You're forced to play King F3 here.
Yeah, it's gotta happen. I mean, they also had this
No, my bad.
queen c5 or something.
My bad.
Wait, what do you mean?
It's white. It's black.
Yeah, so
It's black
they
to know.
they could have played like this, but this loses just the same as that
You're.
we've seen. Yeah, get the air
Yeah.
horn. So they played queen h3, and the rest is just like running and screaming and checking and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
they did one of these. We did one of those. They did one of
You
these.
better make sure not to take with the queen on F2 because then.
Because your attack goes away.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense. We gotta take like that. And if they take this, we're not gonna take it back.
No, we
We
just
ain't
made him.
gonna take it. Oh wait,
It's a
rook
mate.
rook g2. Is it a thing?
Well, if you play Rook G2, yeah, calculate that. Bishop E5,
Yeah, bishop
check.
e5, rook g2,
Then what's the winning move?
rook g7 because
Yeah.
there's mate. Right?
Very good. So this is beautiful.
If they go here, we just take it, right?
All these
Is there
side,
another line?
yeah, all
No,
these,
I think we just take
all
it.
these side variations are just super. Queen
Pro-
takes G2.
to deny
And our king is
counterplay.
hanging.
Snug.
Yeah.
The center of the board. I'm the only person who will like characterize my king as snug on d4. I always feel that way. It's
So
like king d5. I'm running
king
towards the
D5,
best place.
and now you don't have any checks.
You do, but it's
And then
terrible.
resign.
And here's the resignation. So this was a very nice game. The end is just technical. Like from which point onward is it just a technical struggle? I guess as soon as they played rook takes b7, this became just a pure technique game where if you've studied well generally and you're a sharp player, you're going to finish the game with finesse. And if you didn't, well, you probably will get checkmated on c2 or something.
Yeah, I
But
feel like H5 right now is superb, and then
quite good.
actually
I wouldn't
the
settle
game,
on a rook move here.
but the game is so precise though. Like H5, Queen D5, you know,
Yeah,
H5, Rook G3, Queen D5. If Bishop takes E1, there's a checkmate.
fine details.
Right, there's a lot of very intricate variations here.
Getting
So
it done.
Rook B3, Queen D5, and then what happens next?
Rook b3. What do you mean?
Oh, when he played Rook G3.
Rook g6.
Later.
Here.
Yeah.
Rook g6.
No, he played Rook G3.
Oh,
So
okay.
Bishop F2.
This rook g3.
Yeah, like right here, if you don't find Queen D5, then you're gonna lose the game.
Yeah, other moves are inadequate. Like we don't have that same queen f7 finesse because they won't. Well, they could even
Don't take with the
they could
queen.
even take with a rook. That's funny.
So
So it's a little sad. So you have to find these good things.
Queen D5, right? And then let's do a recollection of all the precise move, right? Queen D5,
The
H6. Yeah, right. Queen D5 threatening H6. That was
rook e2. I guess this is
rook
not
E2.
precise exactly, but you have to see with precision the consequences. Rook
Yeah.
f1 is also probably fine.
Yeah, that's probably fine. Rook E. Yeah, rook
That's a
e2,
pretty precise move.
check, king d2,
This is a
and just
precise move.
yeah,
This is
queen.
extremely
Yeah,
precise.
queen d4 is a very nice double attack actually. And also, it's funny how they play the threat bishop to h4 to play rook d8, and then you kind of stop it by just putting it on d4.
Even more pressure and all.
No, now you just take the rook
Yeah,
away in g1.
there might be others too, but I think you really just. Yeah, I don't think we mentioned this is a double attack also.
Yeah, this
So
is
this is a one move forcing thing that we should all see
yeah, but then the actual threat
in
is
theory.
rook d8, right? The rook d8 move is the
Hmm.
one that you're like,
Yeah,
okay,
responding to rook d8 is important.
but like I'm
That's the
pinning your
real
queen.
tactical
Yeah, but I'm pinning
stuff.
your queen, and you're like, not really, I
And the
made you
opening play was also good. It was an improvement on existing play. It wasn't just like we're both fumbling here. I think Muzychuk made good preparation, and
and delivered, right?
yeah, and also this shows just generally good
But this
positional
also means
understanding.
that
It's a good move.
it doesn't matter how good your prep is. You still have to play outstanding chess to pull through, right?
Did we talk about what happens if they play in this manner with like bishop d4 or bishop d6? That's probably the last really important detail that we could get in one shot.
Right. Um, maybe here I would just.
Move the queen,
I'm thinking what's the most precise place to put it though.
queen f1.
Also, yeah, queen
If they
f1. You
take,
take with the rook.
should we take with the pawn?
No, no, you want to take with the rook and keep the weakness fixed.
The only issue is it's too liquidating.
Sure, maybe taking with the pawn is not that bad.
Well, it's interesting. Maybe there's more to see in this game.
Yep.
We could look at it next time because we've already done a lot of stuff. But this was a good. I was thinking to just kick it off with this game, but
Yeah,
we had a lot of analysis, and it was a good game.
it was a
I
good
think now
game.
we can play a couple games, or maybe should we
Yeah,
wrap up and take a break? Because
I feel